Hello, so today I have a video of an unboxing and first look of a unusual Mini-ITX case. It's a cube style Mini-ITX case which has space for a full-size optical disk drive and potentially 2 or 3 full-size desktop hard disks, as well as using the micro ITX form factor. It also takes full-size ATX power supplies, although a power supply is not included with this case. So I've seen that there's relatively few independent reviews on the internet regarding this, so I thought that this might be a useful video and of interest to a few people. So I'll just move the camera now. Getting shot. Okay, so the case is a Cooler Master Elite 130. It's been in production since early 2016, as I understand. It's been sold via CCL Computers here in the UK as the importers, and as I say, the power supply is not included with the case, so it's a case on its own. I have got a few of the other parts, but this can't be a review video yet because I am still waiting on the main board, which in this case means I'm also waiting on the graphics card, the sound card, and the processor, because this is a via EPIA board. So this is going to be a bit of a retro project. So this is a new modern case that's designed for full length dual PCI Express slot graphics cards, which is another claim it has, the fame. But I'm going to be using it for slightly different purposes by making use of the capacity it has for full desktop hard disks and optical disk drives. So first view of the box, we just have the case in all its glory in polystyrene. Let's see what we have. Okay, it's well packed anyway, that's good. Since this is a first look, this probably will be going back in its box after this review. So it's in some plastic wrap. It is open, but the box itself is sealed, so I'm happy enough that this is new. In terms of carryability, my hope is that this will become a LAN party computer. So that's the idea of it. This is the Windows 98 LAN party PC. That's the idea for the project. So I get the square one. There we are. So that's the front of the case. It's all mesh. That's genuine mesh as well. That's not a pretend face for it, facade. It has actually got a fan behind there and a dust filter. So that's a functional mesh grill. I understand that, yes, here we are. We have 2 USB 3 slots now, which is different to some pictures on this side of the case, and audio connectors. This side of the case has a single USB 2 slot and a power button, I understand. Power button, which is at the top, reset, which is slightly recessed at the lower part here. If I can just angle it, you can see that it's slightly recessed, which is quite a nice feature, nice idea. So turning it around to the side, lots of cooling. This is the side where the full length graphics card would be, so it's literally got ventilation all the way along the length of the graphics card, as would be, which is a nice feature. I don't think this is the side with the fan. No, the other side has a fan, which is the side nearer the power supply outlet, most likely. Let's go around to the rear of the case. Okay, so an unusual factor for this case, an unusual feature I suppose, is that the power supply is actually designed to be seated slightly out of the back of the case. I believe this is to actually provide space for cabling coming out of the front of a fixed feature power supply and the cables that would go into a full-size optical disc drive. So this is a sort of a necessity feature, I suppose. Then we have ventilation. Ventilation is a big feature of the case. This would be the recess for your Mini-ITX I/O shield, which is fine. You'd hopefully supply your own with it, that's fine. And then we have the two full height PCI slots here, which could be used for the single double slot graphics card, which is something it's designed for, full size double slot graphics cards, or obviously two individual cards if your configuration is slightly different. Turning it around. I didn't see this on the reviews, but it's nice to see that there's also full length ventilation the other side of the case as well. So both sides have got this full length ventilation. Additional to that, I'll show you the top. Yet more ventilation on the top. That's for the power supply. So a lot of modern power supplies actually have a sort of a back to top airflow rather than a back to inside the PC, or supposed to be sucking the air out from the inside. I don't know, different power supplies do different things, but you've got more ventilation specifically designed for the power supply to sit there on the top, which is really nice. So airflow is absolutely optimal. The base of the case has a few, I suppose, standoff options, I suppose. I don't really know yet, having not looked at the supplied parts. There are some supplied parts, I can see them through the case, but it does have four very sturdy rubber feet. They seem to be, I don't know, they could maybe be screwed in, I'm really not sure. At the moment they're fairly mobile, but they are good, solid, sturdy standoffs, so you have actually got airflow even underneath the case with these. However, they are a bit loose, and they don't seem to be fixed with a screw, so that's something I'll have a look at from the inside of the case perhaps. I am noticing that all of the parts actually unscrew with thumb screws, which is fantastic. It's a sign of a good case, like a Cooler Master case in my opinion, to have all thumb screws for the parts. Let's take it off. As I say, you're seeing this as I see this. I haven't undone this box yet, it arrived yesterday. There we go. Right. This may need a screwdriver for its first undoing, I think. Bear with me. On hold music. Okay. Screwdriver. So I think it's just a case of just check that these are actually crosshead. Yeah. Yeah. Just a case of giving them a bit of a helping hand the first time, I think. They are pretty tight. In fairness, insulation of the board was never going to be toolless anyway, because there are all sorts of standoffs and things to be considered. So having screwdrivers handy was always going to be a thing, and I tend to find it's nice to have these larger crosshead screwdrivers for dealing with the cases themselves. It's a nice full-size premium crosshead. There are 3 thumb screws. One here. Oh dear. On the edge of reason there. One here, one there, one here. So all 3 sides are covered. Nice, small but decent black thumb screws. And I'm guessing, because there are no instructions, that you pull the case wheel back. And a little bit like a shuttle case, you can lift it off the top. Yeah. So we have a fairly coarse dust grill here. I'll move this camera up a moment. We have a dust grill. It's fairly coarse. It's thinner than you can possibly see. You can't really see the mesh. You can just about see it there over the holes. It's pretty coarse, but it's something, I suppose. It would stop any solid objects from getting through. It looks removable, but I don't know. It's somewhat flimsy, made of plastic, I think. Don't know. It's something. It provides something, I suppose. Okay, you've got some parts inside the bag here. Just check that there was no manual with this. I don't think there is. Oh, sorry. I'm being very unfair to the case. There is a manual. It's sandwiched in between the cardboard parts at the back of the box. We do have a case manual. Wonder what we have. Installation guide and user manual. Just seeing what's actually included in it to show you the best bits. So we've got sort of a product features in about 20 languages. And then we have got an installation guide, more interesting really, on the back of the manual here. So it's pretty comprehensive in fairness to it. I wish I'd seen that at the start. It's pretty well given. So you should come with that, but you might find it's right at the base of the box. And as I say, mine was sort of concertinaed with the plastic, with the sorry, the cardboard. So do bear it in mind and make sure you have a good look for the manual. Okay, that's the thing. So this is just tied on with a tie, bag tie really. And we have a bag of parts. We have lots of interesting parts that I'm not that familiar with, I'll be honest with you. There are some designated SSD screws, it would seem. SSD screw 12 pieces. And various standoffs, rubber grommets, and just a few sample cable ties. Hard to know what they're all for at this stage. I'm sure that it's all explained in the manual. Possibly begins to explain why there was the larger holes in the base of the case. But yeah, there's definitely a lot supplied. It would seem on first glance that there is enough for most, most variations, but time will tell, and the installation will be the proof of that, I'm guessing. So what else do we have? We are supplied with a mains lead. Is this a UK mains lead? This is something. It's not a mains lead. Sorry. What is it? It's a USB 3 connector. HD audio connector. Reset switch connector, which looks a bit mangled, but I think that's just dust. Yep, it's just dust. So HD audio, USB 3 with a big solid part to it, and HDD LED. I'm guessing we've got power switch. Oh, we seem to have individual USB. Is that no power LED, individual parts, power switch, and two Molex connectors. That would seem to be for the 80mm fan, which is as advertised, and the 120mm fan, which is in there in a housing of some sort. Looks like I'd need to go into the front to make any changes to that fan. That's also got a Molex type connector. Yeah, that's what they've included with them. The rear case fan has got a board type connector as well. I wonder if this is the same, if this is on a board type connector first. Not sure, that may only be Molex. see if you can see what I can see. So we have, pointing out here, the rear case fan assembly. So you have cables in the way from your view, don't you? There we are. There we go, a bit more clear now. So it comes from the rear of the case along to the side, 80mm fan, and a sort of metal, is it fair to say, metal housing? Yeah, it's in a metal housing. It could, I think, be removed if you want. Yes, the whole housing could be removed if you wanted to remove it. It seems useful at this moment, I suppose. And then if I move these wires back in position, see if you can see the 120mm fan. Yeah, that's the best view. 120mm fan there at the front as well. I understand that this does have mesh. I think you unscrew the frontage from inside from the look of it. I'm not too sure, to be honest with you. I know that you can get at the I know that you can get into the front part of the case. There is a mesh there which is of a similar sort of type to the other mesh, so it's not exactly a particulate filter, but it's some level of filtration. It's fairly coarse. It's fairly coarse. It's okay. Yeah, internals. Let's look at the internals top down. So you have a support bar, which could be potentially a bit of an issue for installing things, but you've got a nice clean layout. Otherwise, you've got a solid base to it. You can clear it of cables when you're actually getting properly involved. All of these cables are just cable tied to the case for transport, but you can have a clear base when you actually come to install the board, which is a huge help with Mini-ITX, because levering the board into position can be a huge issue because of the sheer size of the boards often. Yeah, so that's the internals. Optical disc drive bay, which can be removed, I understand, and it can double as a 3.5-inch drive bay module. You can screw the drives in, I believe, from the base. I think that's the idea anyway. It's not a bad interior. It's very clean. You don't have any cable management, really. That's what I will say. You don't really have cable management. There's I think it was explained as an SSD mount. So you have a fourth option for mounting a device here. That's an SSD mount on the side of the optical drive bay. Is that removable as well? I think that's also. I think it is removable. Yes, it is removable. So you can really customize this case for your needs quite a lot. I will probably be removing the SSD mount. It's not something that I'm going to be making any use of. But the flexibility is there. You can just about see there's a front I/O board. I don't know if you can see it from the back. There is a sort of a front I/O board, especially for the USB portion. I'm not quite sure what it does, to be honest with you. It seems to be something to do with the HD audio header, perhaps. Some very simple circuitry. Hopefully it's only passed through. It's not going to affect anything too much. I'm just seeing at the base here, there are 3.5-inch SSD mounts that it's mentioning are on the base of the unit as well. So you could actually mount drives right in front of the board on the base of the case. This is amazing for airflow, actually. Some of the screw holes on the base here are actually labelled. All in all, it's a very light case. The metal is medium grade. I wouldn't say it's the most sturdy case I've ever felt, actually, but it's not tinny plastic, tinny metal either. It's not tin kind of metal that's just going to contort out of shape really easily, but it probably isn't going to be server grade, let's put it that way. You're not talking server grade metal. It's somewhere in between. It is all proper black metal from the looks of it, so the look is pretty uniform throughout. I think it's going to suit my needs perfectly. Its lightness is good because I'm going to be using some more heavy desktop type components, and this is supposed to be a semi-portable system. So I do like the way this is essentially a framework type case with Mini-ITX. Something that looks like a framework is a very, very good plan. I'll just, as a final thing, show you the lid. So you've seen this before, but just show you the lid part again. Let's see if I can put the lid back on as a final view. A little bit of a cracking noise there. Not sure. And there we go. It's a neat little Mini-ITX system with the ability to use some desktop parts. Final view of the front there. So again, this is the Cooler Master. I believe it's known as the, yes, here we go. It's the Elite 130. So it's a Mini-ITX chassis that supports full PCI Express graphics cards, also double slot graphics cards, full ATX power supplies, desktop hard disks, and a full 5.25-inch optical disk drive. Just to finally point out where that would go, you can remove part of the mesh here. So the mesh is integral, but the part of this is actually removable down to about here, and that's where you would put the optical drive. It is a slot, so you're not sacrificing the looks too much. You do actually have a portion above the optical drive bay, so it's not like you're cutting part of the mesh off. Yeah, quite a nice complete looking unit. I hope that this review has been helpful. Just to let you know as well, at the time of purchase, this case cost me £42 from an online retailer. I hope it's been a useful review. I hope this has supplemented the reviews that you've already seen, and I will definitely be reviewing this case as I start to build the system within it, and do look out for a second video regarding that soon. Hope this has been helpful. This is Peter Max 80. Bye for now.